Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well on this upward and onward path that we are on right now. And I hope that whenever and wherever you happen to be, you are able to separate the feelings of rejection from the person that's doing the rejecting of you, if you have been rejected. A lot of you have written me and told me that you found your twin flame and you're really excited about it, only to turn around 1 or 2 weeks later to tell me they completely flipped the script, turned into a twin flake, basically, and rejected me by deleting and blocking me. And I don't know what's going on there, but it's happened to not just 1 or 2 of you, but like 10 of you that have contacted me. So I don't know why this is. I don't know if this person really was a twin flame or a twin flake, but maybe they were just someone who is taking advantage of the whole new age thing, hearing the buzzwords twin flame and trying to get it in with you. And then when you wouldn't allow them to take advantage of you, because you know what to look for, especially if you've been listening to me for a while, you know what to look for in somebody who is a sociopath or a narcissist. If you're brand new to the show, go back to February of last year, and 4 episodes I did a series on relationships, and I did a series especially on boundaries. If you put your own boundaries up, no one's going to be able to cross them if they're a sociopath or a narcissist or not the right one. So go back and listen to that if you have not done so already. But a lot of you have been rejected by people who are claiming to be your twin flame, and you get all caught up and you're like, I really feel something. I really feel like they might be the one. There's something there. Now, if they are your twin flame, they'll come back. The wagons always circle back around. Don't worry. Don't worry. I mean, it's just, and I don't mean to be heteronormative if I say, men, women, women, men. It's also women can be with women, men can be with men. Anybody can be with anybody in a non-cisgendered, non-heteronormative way in the realm of twin flames. It's an energy with an energy, right? So it's like by the way, so in case I say something that's heteronormative, I certainly don't mean to. Now, there's different kinds of rejection, of course, not just, relationship rejection. And so, by the way, I'm glad I put that disclaimer there, but that's not what I'm talking about today, necessarily. I'm just meaning all kinds of rejection. We're in the middle of a really huge election. Like, this can be life-changing. For some of you, you're going to be very disappointed, and for some of you, you're going to be very happy. I don't know what side you fall on, with which man you voted for, but someone is going to be rejected, right? That's what elections are about. Someone is accepted as president, someone is rejected as president. It's not anything personal, it's just who's good for the job, who's not good for the job. And when someone rejects you, when you're fired from a job, from work, you say you have a job and then you get fired. A lot of times you're not really being rejected. It's just that the job itself was not right for you, or you were not a right fit for the people working at that office or that, place of business, or maybe something else is going on that you don't know about. Maybe the boss doesn't have enough money to pay you, and instead of fessing up, he goes ahead and fires you, or she, or they fire you, right? Because they can't freaking pay your payroll. So it's like, oh, damn, let's cut that now, and that person, and maybe a whole bunch of people I was fired from a job once, and I was starting to feel really bad. And my manager said, look, we really love you and we love having you here and you're an amazing person, but everybody is being let go. And they let like 60 or 70 people go. And then I was crying as I was cleaning out my desk, and the owner of the company came and he had tears in his eyes. He's like, I'm going to call you back as soon as everything gets turned around financially, because I really loved having you around. I'm like, I really loved being here. But, you know, and so I felt rejected at first. I felt like, what did I do wrong? I know I was late a bunch of times. I know I did pranks around the office that everyone loved and laughed about, but maybe I was too much. I don't know. You know, maybe it's my fault. I mean, I would show up wearing bicycle clothing, you know, like spandex. That was my spandex days, hot pink. And then I'd go in the bathroom and change into professional clothes, but I'd still be like hot and sweaty. My face would be like bright red because, I mean, I rode like 10 miles to work every day and back, which I loved because it kept me in shape. But, you know, but I felt like super rejected. And then I found out the real reason, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it had nothing to do with me at all. A lot of times when people will reject you in a relationship or in a job or even in a friendship, it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes you'll like someone and you'll say, you know, I kind of like to go out with you sometime. Or maybe it's someone you want to maybe get to know as a friend only. You know, you and I have a lot in common. I'd love to go out with you sometime. Maybe they say no because they've got a situation you have no idea about. A friend of mine rejected me, and it turns out, I found out 15 years later, that she was being abused by her newlywed husband. And the horrible rejection letter I had received from her had nothing to do with her. He's the one that wrote it. And it was nasty, and I mean, it made me angry. And I was like, well, you know, the hell with her, screw her. Oh my God. And now we're back as friends again, and she, you know, years ago divorced him, and thank God, got rid of that guy. But again, narcissist. Go check out the boundaries episode. But I picked a life of rejection. I picked that as a life theme because apparently I'm a freaking idiot. If you have had like rejection after rejection, I've had people reject my writing, reject my work, reject me on every possible level. You know, and it wasn't about, and a lot of you might be going, that's because you just don't accept yourself. No, it's not that simple. It's not always that simple. The reason why, and once I learned through meditation and connecting with God, was I needed to connect with God. And who's the one person, that one being who's never going to reject you, never leave your side, is the one true prime creator, right? And so it made me go inward more and more and more. I mean, I had someone reject my money and I lost everything, literally everything I owned. I've had people reject me where I became homeless. It's freaking weird. You know, it's not like I'm a terrible person. I mean, it's not like I had needle tracks in my arm and screwed up hair and, you know, I wasn't covered in dirt. I didn't smell. I've always looked really presentable and very, although when I travel in South America, I've looked kind of crazy because in that case, when I was approached by people that were scary, I would start acting a little weird and then they would reject me. And I was like, thank God for that. That was a good one. When you act a little strange. I mean, seriously, if any one of you starts, like if someone tries to rob you, you start, bleh, 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 act like you're going to throw up. People freaking, never mind, I'll rob the next person. My daughter said she's going to pretend she has diarrhea and throwing up, and she's like, oh, I got a fever, you know, and she would practice. I think she'd practice in front of the mirror sometimes, you know, to make it look super real, you know, as like a self-defense mechanism, like, you know. But think about all the times you've ever rejected anybody for any reason at all. You know, sometimes we have to reject people and they say, do you want to meet me somewhere and see this band play. And you're not rejecting them outright as a human being. You're just rejecting the evening or the plans at that moment. And think about all the reasons you do that. Are you an introvert and you just really feel like being home? Or did you have a better offer from somebody that came in first? You're going to go do something else instead? Or maybe you need a mental health day. You need a break. It's not always about the other person. It usually is not. So people reject you and break up with you in a romantic situation. It usually has nothing to do with you. They might be with someone else that they fell in love with. It might be, maybe they got a disease and they're embarrassed to tell you about it. Maybe they have, like my husband of 13 years had cancer and he had a feeling it metastasized and he didn't want me to know. Didn't want me to see him go through that. He wanted me to remember him as a strong man. The strong man that provided for me and his family. And the man who had intelligence. And he died with brain cancer. So I think that was part of his own fear, Either that or he just didn't know he had it, I don't know. I still, to this day, don't even know. 10 years ago this month that happened and I still don't know. But I don't want you guys to think about rejection in a way that you beat yourself up, that you go, well, was it me? Do I smell? Is it me? Am I too fat? Am I too skinny? Am I too short? Am I too tall? Was I not the right? Because the right person will never reject you. And the wrong person will always reject you, right? Because they're the wrong person. You're the wrong person for them. You're the, in every possible situation, rejection can take place. And I wanted to bring it up again. I've mentioned this a few times, but I wanted to bring it up again because, say it louder for the people in the back. It's one of those things that every now and again we need to be reminded. We get to reevaluate. And you don't need to beat yourself up. You're fine. Now, if you're rejected maybe 30, 40 times in a row, and you say, why? And they say, because of this. And it's the exact same answer. Now you got to do some self-reflection, right? I'm breaking up with you because you keep flashing your boobs at parties and you're a loudmouth. And if you've heard that one 3 or 4 times, maybe keep the girls in check. I'm just saying, it's a thing. Public nudity is not always an option for people. I'm just kidding. I know none of you do that, but it's just a funny thing I came up with on the fly right there. But a lot of people spend way too much time. What they say, don't let bad people take up space. Don't let them rent for free in your head. Don't let them take up space in your mental, you only have so much mental capacity. Why are you allowing that person who rejected you, that college who rejected you, the university that said no? Maybe if you had gone to that university, you were going to be murdered by a slasher. It's a good thing you went to a different state or a different city. Oh my God, right? Sometimes you'll hear about something later. You'll be with someone or, in a situation and then you get rejected. And then later you find out like, oh my God, I was fired from that job and someone went in and shot up the whole place like a week later. I might have been killed. I mean, it's weird, but sometimes I've had my car reject me. Got in my car, wouldn't start. I'm like, son of a, why are you not starting? Getting so angry. I need to get to class, damn it. And then finally, 20 minutes later, my car started. Everything was fine. And on the way to school, I saw a nasty car accident. That could have been me. They lived through it, but maybe I would not have because my car was crappier. I mean, sometimes the universe will reject you. Sometimes your higher self will stop you from doing something. My husband and I were working on a project and we were writing something together, and he was like slacking off and getting on his computer and just playing video games too much. And all of a sudden his computer wouldn't work. And it was like, I can't get my damn computer to work, I was super mad. 2 months later, his computer worked fine. You know why? He got out of the habit And he started meditating on it, and his higher self said, I stopped you from wasting your life, basically. It wasn't the right time. I've been in the middle of an angry letter, not now, not recently, but a few years back, 3 or 4 years ago. I was in the middle of writing a super, super angry email to someone that probably would have done some damage. I was really, really mad, really angry at them, and I was really laying into them. Because I don't normally have a temper, but sometimes I do. You know, everyone has something, and I'm a redhead after all, damn it. And I'm an Irish person. You know, I'm an Irish American, damn it. I got that Irish blood. Yes, and I got some German blood in me too. Sometimes I get angry. Not often. But when I do, it's like, oh boy, Nellie, watch out. But I was writing this thing and my whole phone shut off. And it wouldn't turn back on for hours. And then I was no longer angry. Got back on. I'm like, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish that email and send it. And it was completely gone. It had been erased. And I was like, okay, God, explain. And God's like, we're going to stop you every time. We're literally going to reject you for your own safety, for your own sake, before you start threatening people, before you start getting mad at people, you know. And then I said, okay, this is it. Archangel Michael, be my gatekeeper. Oh, Lord, put your arm around my shoulder and your hand across my mouth. My mom used to have that as a plaque in her house. And so, I mean, there's a reason, right? So sometimes you get rejected by the universe on things, right? Sometimes you'll like try as you might try to date someone who looks amazing on paper. They're a good person. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're not like a secret killer or psycho killer or, you know, They're not anything like that. They're just a normal person. But then when you find out later, well, they developed cancer a year later and it would have broken your heart. You would have given up everything for this person and you would have been left high and dry again. Shit, you know, probably better that didn't work out, right? Sometimes it doesn't work out. And sometimes, you know, you'll find out that person ended up being an abuser or that person, you know, ended up dying, that, you know, like whatever, the person you really, really, really wanted. And sometimes you find out that they found the love of their life and they've never been happier. And that's the thing that turned their life around. And when they were with you, maybe they weren't going to turn anything around because you're right there beside them doing that line of coke or smoking that weed or whatever. So you just got to keep everything in mind. So I don't know who needed to hear this, but I thought God told me to say this. So I better get the message out there. I know I'm a day late. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's been a wild couple days. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk about as far as rejection, what if you try to talk to your great old Aunt Millie and you know she loved you, you were her favorite, and you go to a seance or you're a psychic medium yourself and you try to contact the spirit and they refuse to come to you. Oh my God, my Aunt Millie is disappointing me. She's rejecting me. What the hell? And you might take it to heart. Like, wait a minute. What if it's your grandparent or your mom, you know, or someone you loved very deeply? Just keep it in mind that when people die, they're not always able to contact you. For whatever reason, on a spiritual level, they can't right now. My mother didn't contact me for, let's see, it was 2014 when she died. 6.5 years. And I'm like, oh my God, she gave me up for adoption. That's the first rejection. She got cancer and stopped talking to me. That's the second rejection. And then after she died, you think she'd know better, but that was the third rejection from her. Third time's a charm for me. I was like, screw that shit. But then she came to me finally a couple weeks ago in a dream, and she said she's okay now. Everything's fine. What happened was, I guess, she had been cocooned for a very long time because she had a really hard life with a lot of hard physical challenges. and a lot of psychological and mental challenges and emotional challenges. So she had a lot of Pepsi to work through. She had the Pepsi challenge from hell. Pepsi is my acronym, of course, for psychological, emotional, physical, and spiritual issues of the individual. Pepsi, so I call it. So she had a lot to go through. And then when she went through all that, she went into the room where she could, quote unquote, stare into the face of God forever. And there is literally a room in heaven like that for people who wish to do that because of one line in the Bible. And it's like, okay. And I've talked to spirits who say, oh yeah, I know about that room. They just stare. It's weird. You walk by them, you're like, what the hell? And they're staring at what looks like a giant light bulb, like a picture of God or something. I don't know. It's not actually God. I mean, everything's God, but I mean, it's not the whole of God. It's like ridiculous. And then eventually people get bored. And it took my mom years to get bored of that. And then one day we're walking down an old lane in Oklahoma, looked like. And she was just putting her arm around me. And she just apologized for rejecting me all those times. So sometimes you're going to get an apology for the rejection. Sometimes it'll come when you least expect it. And you go, oh. And I've had people reject me. I write them and they don't write back. Turns out they're dead. They had a good excuse. They weren't rejecting me at all. So sometimes you think you're rejected, you're not rejected at all. Now, I have mentioned this a couple times, and I think about a month or so ago, I think I was talking about this, but Prime Creator told me at least a couple of you are thinking about this rejection situation, and no matter what it is, you know, maybe you're rejected for a scholarship. That's because your higher self is limiting your choice because you have a better choice. You have to take a new path because something is out there better for you. You know, I had a friend who was getting ready to pay for his tuition in a school, and I think something happened where he didn't quite come up with a down payment. He had an emergency real quick. Didn't have his $10,000 to put down on the school. And so he was just like, shit. And he died, and they said, you can't come back for another year. And he had gone all the way to John of God in Brazil, and John of God told him, don't do it. Just enjoy your life. And he's like, but I have to do it. I want to be a acupuncture doctor. And John of God said, don't do it. Just enjoy your life. Trust me on this. Just enjoy your life. You know, you have enough money to live. You're okay. He didn't have a lot, but he had enough to live. And he's like, okay. So he had gone back to the States, and someone said, hey, I need you to babysit my mansion for the next year. I'm going to be traveling the world. And he got to live in a mansion on the beach in Santa Barbara. And he got a girlfriend. He fell in love. And he got rejected for the school temporarily. And during that year, he died. But during that year, he enjoyed his life. He found true love. He got to live in a mansion on the beach for free. Everything he ever wanted all of a sudden came to pass right there at the end of his life, because he had spent a great deal of time working on himself, and all the things he thought were rejections, things were just, you know, he's just being protected and guided and directed in a different way. You know, your higher self knows best. You know, your Prime Creator knows best. And things will come to light in time. So never, ever, ever judge anybody for rejecting you unless, you know, you have all the information, and usually you don't. You might think you do, and you don't. You never, ever do. You know, if you get left for somebody else, it might be because the other person was pregnant, or maybe that's the other person's, you know, that's their twin flame, or maybe there's a whole set of circumstances you didn't know. You know, maybe they're dying and they didn't want you around to watch it. Or maybe the person they left you for is dying, and they had a soul contract to help that person through the transition and the end of their life. And they figured, well, I could come back and explain it to, you know, this other person later. You know, like, sometimes things happen. Circumstances change, people change, and it's not usually having anything to do with you. Anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. Now, I got some weird stuff to tell you. A couple days ago, Monday night when I got done. And I went to bed, got done with the show, went to bed. My son and I decided to, he got home from work and we decided, let's just try to get some good sleep. Let's go to bed early instead of staying up and watching something together or talking too late. We were just like, he was tired, I was tired. Let's just go to bed. So he went to bed in his room, which is on the 2nd floor, and I went to bed in my room on the 3rd floor. And I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden, now I've told you this before, when my bed was on the other side of the room, there's these 2 windows, and we have these roofs that have like a skylight built in. And it's like a plastic composite roof, and part of the roofs are like see-through-ish. At least lets light in. So I've got these skylights in my room, which is actually pretty cool. And when I had my bed on the other end of the room, what happened was I kept getting these creatures making noise on that skylight part right above my head, and it was freaking me out. It happened 3 or 4 times, happened during a show. I mean, I like scream, I'd jump, because the thing, whatever's landing on that roof is enormous. I'm like, I have like a dragon landing on my roof or something. Maybe it's a condor. I mean, I do live in the Andes Mountains. I'm 8,400 feet above sea level. Usually they don't live around people. And then there's always that one part of my mind that thinks, holy crap, it's a chupacabra after me. And I'm starting to panic. Or maybe it's the aliens finally coming to land on my roof and let me know they're here. And that kind of freaks me out, especially if it's the Greys. So I don't know. It was freaking me out. And I did feng shui in my room, and I cleansed my room, and I did all the things I needed to do. And I didn't have that for a long, long time. Well, Monday night, something landed on the roof again, above my head again, because my head is under the other skylight. And here it is again. And it was so loud. Usually my son, I go, did you hear that? He's like, no, I didn't hear anything. I mean, the wood in the ceiling creaks and moans and groans sometimes, just with the changing, weather. Hey, it's a little moist in the air, and now it's dry, just whatever. It's hot, and then it's cold, and then it just kind of creaks and moans, which is normal. But this thing that happened on Monday night was so freaking loud, and it made me jump in it, and I felt it reverberate through my body. Now, this is every bit as loud, if not louder, than the thing that I told you guys about, where the back of my heart had on Monday. I told you guys this, it just was an explosion in my aura, is what it sounded like. Something happened. I don't know what the hell happened, but something happened. And anyway, this time my son heard it, and he's like, what was that? I'm like, that's the thing that's been landing on the roof. I don't know what it is. He's like, I think it's a condor. I'm like, I'm not going to go outside to freaking find out. I mean, condors have an 18-foot wingspan. I'm not going to tangle with one of these things. They're huge. In Peru, we went and we saw the condors. They're majestic and beautiful, but they're also kind of freaky looking. They look like the evil beings in the Dark Crystal. The really weird birds. That's what they look like. So it's like, oh, I don't want to see that thing up close and personal. No. So to this day, I still don't know. It's a couple days later, I still don't know what the hell is on my roof. My son's like, maybe it was a free runner. I'm like, well, it only landed, whoever it is, landed only above me, right directly above my head. Now, cannot be a coincidence. It's happened 4 or 5 times, always directly above where my head is. So, maybe it's something really hilarious, like it's something in my aura and I'm sparking it with my mind. I notice when I concentrate, I'll hear noises like a crack whipping in my, or a whip cracking. What a crack whipping? What the hell? A whip cracking, like I'll hear like a really loud crack in my room. And usually when I'm really focused on something, it's my own energy doing that. But that was Monday. And something had happened to me Monday, maybe morning. I think I was bit by a spider. I had a puncture wound in the base of my neck, but I had my son look at it, and it wasn't where normally if I'm abducted, it wasn't that. Felt different. And it was raised. It was different than anything else. And my son looked at it. He said, oh, that's definitely a spider bite. So I think on Monday, my mouth, I know if you guys are normally listening to me and you heard me Monday, you might have said, wow, she's having allergies. I was having sinus. I'm still having it. But also my throat was swollen, which you could kind of tell that in my voice too right now. Yesterday, I couldn't even talk. It was just absolute sore, swollen tongue, swollen lips, swollen, and I thought maybe it's just angioedema. Didn't even consider it till today. I asked my spiritual, or my physical healing team, my spiritual healing team, not my spiritual team. And they said, you were bit by a spider. I'm like, oh yeah, right. I forgot about that 2 days ago. And I've been out of it. I was out of it for like a day and a half. Like I slept most of the day yesterday. Every time I tried to do the show, I kept, like, my throat was too swollen. My tongue was too swollen. I'm still having a little bit of that going on right now. And I sat and I started to look at the election results last night, and I fell asleep for about 2 or 3 hours sitting up in the same position. And I think I've been abducted twice. I think the aliens are trying to help save me. Maybe it was a very poisonous spider, which I have not found, by the way. I washed my sheets and all my bedding, so everything is clean. So if it was in my bedding, it's gone, but I don't even know. I'm kind of freaked out about it. I have not seen any black widows here, nothing like that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm in Ecuador. Who the hell knows? Well, I mean, an Ecuadorian bug scientist, that's who knows. But that's what I've been going through. So I don't know. Speaking of exception and rejection, exception, is that even a word? I think I just made it up. What the hell is going on with the election? 24 hours later, we still don't know what the hell happened. It looks like Biden is winning. It looks like the Senate that was ruled by the Democrats is now ruled by the Republicans, and the House that was ruled by the Republicans is now ruled by the Democrats. All the races are too close to call. What the hell? Why are there so many people for Trump still? What the hell? It doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, there was a bunch of accusing the other side of cheating before it even started, which makes me think that maybe he was cheating. They cheated last time. Why wouldn't they cheat this time? He cheats on his taxes. He cheats on his wives. He's cheated the American people out of 250,000 American people out of their lives by not immediately implementing safety measures. He's cheated and skated his way through life as a cheater and a liar. So maybe he's cheating now. I don't know. I don't judge him either way. Whatever. He's only going to judge himself when he, finally someday meets his maker, like we all do. So I don't know. It was weird. Very weird thing. I don't know. And in other news last night, this is what I thought originally was making me unable to breathe, and I was having problems with with asthma. I take my inhaler, nothing was working, which obviously a spider bite. Had poison coursing through my veins. All right. Felt like I had a fever. I felt weird, sore throat, swollen throat. Like I said, I'm still going through it. But also, we've been surrounded by forest fires in the mountains. And last night, I saw this massive fire and no fire trucks for like 20 minutes. I watched the mountain burn, and I'm like, oh my God, if it comes down the mountain and hops this tiny little river, I don't think my house will burn. But I mean, I'm living in a room filled with wood. If somehow it got into the house, which it wouldn't probably because I'm in a brick house, but I was kind of freaked out last night about that. I told a couple people about it, and they were all nonchalant, like it's no big deal. We haven't had water at night for several nights in a row, and all day today we've had no water. The water has been shut off. There's no explanation. All the neighbors are freaked out. I'm thinking they're using all the city's water to fight all these fires that are surrounding us right now here in Ecuador. I don't know how many there are. I just heard that in the news they reported several, but they didn't say, is several 3 Is several 30? What's several? I don't know. They didn't say. I've only seen one, but it's enough. And I'm breathing in smoke every time I open my window for fresh air. And so no water all day today. And we haven't had enough water pressure to take a hot shower for about 10 days now. So my son's been taking cold showers. I've been using baby wipes. Finally, I bit the bullet yesterday in the morning, first thing, and not morning, but around 11 or 12, and the sun was shining through the skylight. My bathroom felt nice and warm. I kept reminding myself I took cold showers in Mexico when it was really hot, and I got used to it, and it's okay. And I got in the shower and just, it was so cold. Oh my God. I couldn't stand it. It was horrible. So I felt altered. Everything that's been happening in the past several days for me, everything feels weird and altered. Yesterday felt like it took 4 hours to complete 24 hours. It went super fast time-wise. And I'd ask God, please slow down the days I'm enjoying myself. Please speed up the days I am not. Apparently yesterday was the day I was not enjoying myself so much, as it felt like I was gone in 4 hours. Anyway, in other news, Mercury went direct yesterday during the election. I thought it was the day after, but instead it was yesterday. And here I am looking at the card that I drew for the day, Angel Answers Recovery. I don't know. What are we recovering from, guys? Are we recovering from who wins or who loses? Are we recovering from Trump or being the president? He's no longer the president. Looks like Biden's winning, but it could go either way. I'm not going to call it. Trump himself tried to make up a bunch of lies and call it. He's already started 2 lawsuits because he's a cheater. Of course he's a cheater. He's continuing to cheat right now. He said he's going to have the Supreme Court decide. Yeah, after he stacked the court like a week ago with someone who will, return the favor by appointing him the president, which goes against the Constitution because that's illegal. Right in the Constitution says can't do that, but he's going to try and do it anyway. He's a damn cheater. Cheater and a liar. How do we come to this? I don't know. But we have to go through a stage and period of apparent recovery. And that is the Angel Answers from Radley Valentine. That's the card that was drawn today. My holy guardian angel's drawing the cards this week and last. And I'm going to read to you guys what does it say for the recovery card. This is a period of recovery and healing for you. The challenging emotions that you've been dealing with will fade away with time. Although it might be difficult to see now, there is a joyful future awaiting you. But for now, take all the time you need to regain your strength. This card can also mean that your recovery is nearly finished or already complete. Send words of gratitude to heaven and begin planning for the next exciting phase of your life. Well, the fact that I don't have a sponsor, still, 1 week later, I've written them 3 or 4 times. They didn't write me back. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. So, hopefully, I will be recovering from not having any income at all, living in poverty for years. Hopefully, I will have a recovery for that. I know that my recovery as far as my healing, spiritually healing on every level, I know that's been done for a while. That karma was done years ago. My healing, I think probably was finished when my mom came to me a few weeks ago. We'll see. Hey, something else will come up, maybe. We'll heal that too. But recovery, what are you recovering from? What are you in recovery of right now? Are you recovering from COVID? Are you recovering from the loss of a loved one? Are you recovering from shouting at the TV during this election? I'm recovering from a spider bite, but I we'll see. What are you guys recovering from? Bad relationship? bad brie, a bad experience, a bad life? What are you recovering from? What are you already recovered from? Maybe that's the bigger question, because maybe it's over. Hey, hopefully those of us who have lived without our twin flame for this whole time, maybe we're recovering from loneliness and we're recovering from singlehood. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing we're recovering from, hopefully. I have another thing, I'm now just realizing I have two things on the inside of my lip, my upper lip, on the inside of my mouth, that I thought maybe I just poked the inside of my mouth while brushing my teeth, and that's what happened. Now I'm thinking that might be a freaking spider bite inside my mouth. Maybe that's what happened, which would make sense. Maybe I swallowed that sucker. I probably ate that spider. You're going to bite me? Probably in my sleep. I probably ate it. You know that we all eat spiders. Did you guys know that? We actually eat spiders, like, in our sleep quite often, several times a year. They discovered that. That's creepy as hell, isn't it? It makes me freaked out. As soon as I do get water in this place, I want to not only mop my floor, I'm going to mop my ceiling. Clear out any of these little bastards if they're still here. I've seen 4 or 5 different kinds of spiders here. Most of them are harmless, but I killed one the other day, and maybe it's my karma. Killed one. It was on my towel that I use when I get out of the shower. Luckily, I hadn't been taking showers, just using baby wipes. But I washed it yesterday because I was freaked out, and then today to figure it out. Oh, it's a spider bite that got me. But I think I've been abducted. God told me you were abducted twice in the past 2 days. So I've been all kinds of out of it. So I want to apologize for not getting tonight's episode out last night. And I still have to do tonight's episode for tonight, because I promised you the CIA papers, and we're going to do that now. And before we do, we're going to get into some of the other things that I usually do in the beginning. So here we go. If I could find it. I had it all queued up. So on spaceweather.com is what we're going to look at first. Oh, now it's going to... All right, here we go. Solar wind conditions. Yesterday, at least. The solar wind speed was 326.6 kilometers per second. And the election day asteroid did miss the Earth. Were you all thinking, wait a minute, Lena didn't do a show. Shit, maybe the asteroid hit Ecuador. No, you all would have heard about it. But sunspots number AR2780 and 2781 are just starting, and they're just at the very beginning part as the sun's rotating. So we got a good week left before these guys are out of our line of sight, and they are growing rapidly. So we may get a solar flare or two out of it. I didn't check if the White House was buzzed by UFOs last night. I did see a couple videos or live feeds of the White House, but it was at a weird angle where there was nothing of the sky above. Now I'm wondering, maybe they were there and they were like, oh, we can't deal with that today. Oh, Lord, no way. Crazy stuff, man. I'm not even praying for anyone to win in this election. I'm just praying that it goes smoothly, that there were already protests, by the way. No riots yet. There might be riots, right? Like, no matter what side wins, there still might be riots. It's really crazy. All right, so Ulu neutron counts are very high from yesterday. I'm looking at yesterday's space weather. It was a 0.8% going up, higher. 10.2% of the space age average. Lots and lots of cosmic radiation coming. I felt it last night, man. I was like, oh man, I was so groggy. I couldn't even, I took a 4-hour allergy pill in the morning because I could barely breathe and my throat was closing up. And I think that might have saved my life, just to be honest. I know some of you are saying, why didn't you go to the doctor? It's like, I didn't even think I needed to. I was so out of it. I just felt like, it's just allergies. I'll get over it. And they don't even have Benadryl here. You can't even get Benadryl. I had to smuggle it in. It's funny. I found out something. I watched Queen of the South, and there was a scene where someone OD'd on cocaine. And to combat it, they took Benadryl. That might be why you can't get Benadryl here in Ecuador, which is weird, right? I take it only for allergies, right? And I also found out that the what cocaine is molecularly is 1 oxygen more than Benadryl. And that's it. They're identical. It's kind of weird, right? I don't know. It's just a weird thing that. But I didn't take Benadryl yesterday. I took a different allergy pill. I have a couple different kinds because I need them. The only kind you can get here are the 2 that don't do well for me, and one of them gave me heart palpitations. So out of the only 2 that I could get over-the-counter allergy pills here, only one works for me, kind of. 10% of my allergies go away. So I've got my kind that I smuggle in from the U.S. I really need the Benadryl. But, yeah, my life has been really screwed up for 2 days. All right, the coronal holes, solar wind is flowing from the southern coronal hole. It will be reaching us Thursday and Friday of this week. So that's always another fun one to look forward to. I'm glad that the Mercury went direct, by the way. In about 2 weeks, the shadow period will be gone and we'll be fine. 2 weeks. I'm really excited, though. I get to start a few projects I've been really, really aching to get to. So on November 3rd, the Fireball Network, reported 12 fireballs. 10 were sporadic, 2 were northern torids. This is according to NASA's all-sky cameras and the all-sky Fireball Network. Now, according to disclosurenews.it, as far as the Schumann Resonance is concerned, this is what's really weird. You would think that everyone would be nervous and excited and worried, and all kinds of Schumann Resonance stuff would have been happening on election night if it's us that affects it. If that's the way it is, we're not affecting anything. Either that or people in Italy just don't give a crap one way or the other. Because it was absolutely calm with no movement whatsoever yesterday. That's according to disclosurenews.it. The Schumann Resonance was just normal. 7.83 hertz. Like, no big deal. Very, very weird. Now, Heart Mouth Institute, we've got... we do have yesterday's... No. Where are we at? I have November 2nd's that I'm going to do for yesterday's show tonight. And then I'm going to fast forward it one day. And so if you listen to both these in a row, you're going to see how it fluctuated from one day to the next. But Sunday, November 1st, this was what it was at the 2300 hour. Uh-oh. There we go. California was at 40 hertz frequency. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia was at 0 hertz frequency. Lithuania was at 95 hertz. And Alberta, Canada was at 59. Ew. 95 and 59. That's strange. Mirror opposites. 59 hertz frequency in Alberta, Canada. And in Northland, New Zealand, it was 87 hertz frequency. And in Honolulu, South Africa, they were at 12 hertz frequency, which usually they're really, really like high, like in the anywhere from the 100s to the 700s. Well, late 600s, you know what I mean? The high numbers, like 697, I think is what I remember. Maybe being the highest for Honolulu, South Africa. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to check it out and see if there's any news by the time. So yesterday I dedicated the show to Sean Connery and then found out later that in the 60s he beat his first wife. He was actually a wife beater. So I'd like to now retract what I said on Monday about the show being dedicated to him. I did take it out of the description of the show because what the hell? I don't like to normally be a part of the cancel culture, but you know what? I don't want to venerate a guy who beat his wife. I didn't even know that he had. And then he justified it in a magazine interview before I was even born. So obviously I didn't read the magazine and didn't have the internet until recently. But he made a comment that I'm not going to repeat about the 3 times it's okay to beat a woman. Oh my God. Not only did he justify his actions back then, he interviewed it very proudly with that toxic masculinity. It was just like, what? And the only way that I heard about this was I was reading the news about Johnny Depp's trial going, big. Okay, it's Mercury retrograde, first of all. So the next time when he does this trial, because he's going to appeal, I already appealed. I would file an appeal too, because I feel like I'm not going to say he's an innocent person, but, because no one is 100% innocent, but I feel like he really, I don't know. I mean, imagine this, a judge in England ruling in favor of an English rag, of course, obviously. I'm not saying that he's innocent and did nothing ever, because he can be a little terror in and of his own right, like we all can, but I feel like she was the abuser in the relationship, and this guy, the judge, is ruling in her favor only because he's ruling in favor of the magazine. I don't know. I just feel like there's something fishy there. Someone got to someone somehow, or I don't know. I don't want to speculate on it because I honestly don't know, but I just felt like that was weird. But then they compared Johnny Depp to Sean Connery in this article I read, which made me very disgusted, because Sean Connery physically beat his wife, went to jail for it. I didn't even know that. That was before I was even born. I didn't know. So crazy. I take it back. Screw him. I undedicate the show to Sean Connery. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, just kind of disappointing that. I'm not disappointed in Johnny Depp. I wish he would stop doing drugs and, maybe go to recovery. Recovery. Look, I'm having the card right in my hand. Recovery. Maybe if he needs to recover from anything right now. I just feel like there's more to the story than anyone knows. There's always your story, their story, and then the truth. That's the third story. So, I don't know. I'm sending love and light to Johnny Depp right now because I know he's upset. He's got to be, right? And I don't know, man. That whole thing got me kind of twisted up a little bit, with dedicating my show to Sean Connery. What a man. I was under the influence of a spider bite. I'm just kidding. I didn't know that about him. Did you guys know that about him? It's weird, right? I guess he didn't do that to his current wife, that he just, his whole family's surrounding him, so it's like everyone had forgiven him for that, apparently. No one mentioned it for the whole first 24 hours news cycle after that. Anyway, it's weird. Anyway, what else? Is there anything else? Did I forget anything? You guys can probably hear it in my voice. My throat is just swollen as hell. And it already was, because I was affected by the particulate matter in the air from the fires, and before that it was the volcanoes, and then I have the, dust sometimes in my room, but I just cleared out all my bedding and I slept on clean sheets. I've got a cat that sleeps on my face. But I cleaned her with a baby wipe. We had a fight about that. She was really mad. She hates it when I clean her with it. I cleaned her with an antibacterial cloth earlier in the day, and then she rolled around in some dust, and I was like, cleaned her again. And then she slept on my clean pillow with me. But usually that doesn't affect me. I don't know. Anyway, for whatever reason, I'm physically recovering now. But whatever way you're recovering, just let it be known to your subconscious mind. You're not going to suffer forever. You are recovering. You're in recovery from whatever it is. Or if you've gone through a hard time, it's over now. And Mercury is direct. So Yay. I just heard my mom's voice rattling around in my head. Well, praise Jesus. She used to say that all the time. I'm not Christian. I'm not a religious person. If my mom was here, she'd be like, well, praise Jesus for that. It's like, no, thank me for honoring my shadow self enough to go through it and forgive myself and ask for forgiveness for all those things. You have to go through it yourself, Can't ask Jesus to help you through it and take your responsibility away from you. And speaking of recovery, I'm a recovered Catholic. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick break, and again, we don't have any. Unless you hear this weeks from now, I don't even have a sponsor, so you're gonna hear music for like 30 seconds, and then boom, right into the show. All right, so right after this quick little blurb of music, if you hear a commercial here, you're hearing this after the week I recorded it. Anyway, I'll be right back. All right, guys. Well, during my break, I got water again, so gracias a Dios por los milagritos. Thank God for the small miracles. Okay, let me get right into the CIA documents. We've been working our way through the Gateway experience, which is Robert Monroe, his stuff, and I think it's worth it. My husband had bought it for close to $300. He was like, this was an expensive program, but hemisyncing. And for whatever reason, the CIA got really interested in this, and they wanted to explore this and all of the energies and all of the things that this entailed. Like, what is it? All the things it was like before they got into describing the hemisync experience in and of itself. So it was very strange that they were interested in this, but I'm interested in it, so maybe not so much strange. Where we left off last month, because we do this the first Tuesday of every month, and I'm sorry I'm getting this out a day late, but like I said in the first part of the show, just, oh my God, I was really in a bad way yesterday, but hopefully I'll just get better and better from here on out. So where we left off last week was energy entrainment, which was part 10 of this letter that this guy had been writing. I think he was he a colonel, a general? I don't know. It's been a month. It's been a month since I read this. Let me go up to the top here and see. Oh, he wrote this to a commander. This was the U.S. Army Operational Group, the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command from Fort George in Maryland. And this guy was writing it to the commander. Let me see who he was. He was an LTC. He's also a commander. Wayne McDonnell. So this was his research that he did into hemisyncing, but he went into all these other areas. This guy'd be really interesting to talk to, wouldn't he? I bet he knows a lot of cool New Age stuff that he looked into. So this is actually not from the CIA directly. This is from the Army. They wanted to learn more, like how they could use it for their own application. I don't know, use hemisyncing to go to war? Doesn't make any sense, but I mean, no stone left unturned, I suppose. Anyway, energy entrainment was where we left off, so we're going to read that part now. As the body is turned into a coherent oscillator, vibrating in harmony with the surrounding electrostatic medium, the specific exercises included in the Gateway tapes enjoin the participant to build up the energy field surrounding his body, presumably by using energy from the Earth's field, which the body is now in training because of its ability to resonate with it. This puts the body's energy field into homogeneity with its surrounding environment and promotes movement of the seat of consciousness into the surrounding environment. Partly in response to the fact that the two electromagnetic medians are now a single energy continuum. Thus, the same process which moves the brain into focused coherence at steadily higher levels of frequency and amplitude so as to entrain analogous frequencies in the universe for data collection also promotes enhancement of bodily energy levels to a point adequate to permit the subject to experience an out-of-body movement when he is ready to do so. More will be said about this topic later, he put in parentheses. In addition, by resonating with the Earth's electromagnetic sphere, the human body creates a surprisingly powerful carrier wave to assist the mind in communication activity with other human minds similarly tuned. This is weird. Have you guys heard of energy entrainment? I have never heard of this before, but I'm going to relay it to one thing that somebody told me. Now, Lily Francis, I don't know if she's still alive or not. She's probably still alive, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. She was in her 60s, I think, when I met her in the 80s. So it's possible she's already passed from this world. But she was a professor at the University of North Dakota. And she wasn't born as Lily Francis. In fact, she had her name changed to Francis after she watched for the first time the movie Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. I did an entire episode last year about Saint Francis of Assisi. If you have not heard that, you're going to want to maybe hear that. Because he was a true saint. I'm not religious. I'm not Catholic. Every now and again, I'll relay something that happened with a Catholic saint, because that's the person who was a saint, planned to come here to blow people's minds and probably get them out of the religion, actually. But they did it within the confines of religion. Anyway, Lily Francis told me that, in fact, told a group of us. I used to, in the 1980s, I had a group that I attended with my friends, and we all would talk about spiritual experiences we had. We were all going through awakenings together. In fact, if you have a group of friends that are going through awakenings together, you might want to get together every week, pick a day. We had our meetings at 6 o'clock every Sunday, and it was come rain or shine or snow, we always got together. And we would learn and grow spiritually together. We would each read a book, and when we were finished with our book, we would present for the group. So since there was about 8 of us, we had about 2 months to read our book, and we would take turns explaining what we read. And there wasn't a whole lot of New Age books then. There was a little tiny shelf at B. Dalton bookseller, or actually, most of us went to the bookstore or the book section of a greater department store, and the New Age section was about 10 books. So we didn't have a lot to choose from, and we had friends in Minneapolis that would bring us a couple books every now and again. Hey, she finished reading the book, so we're going to read that book now. Just kind of went that way. I mean, back in the day, we were all kind of flying blind. Unlike today where you have a whole section that is New Age and occult and metaphysical books. Where, like, the last time I was in a Barnes & Noble, we had like 4 or 5 shelves full of books, and tarot cards and all kinds of stuff, witchcraft and occult and everything. And then in Los Angeles, we had the psychic eye, we had the Bodhi tree. I don't think the Bodhi tree is even there anymore, but a lot of people had bookstores back in the day, like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where you could walk in and you have 1,000 books or 2,000 books to choose from. So it really has grown quite a bit. But back in the day, in the 1980s, 1987 to be exact, I met Lily Francis, and she told me that she had been connected to God the way I am now. But back then I was like, oh my God, it was like really huge for me to even hear that you could do that. And I had forgotten, honestly, by the time I decided to do it, I had forgotten what Lily had told me, that you could do that. But she loved St. Francis, and so she changed her last name to Francis, and as soon as she did, she started levitating at night automatically. She connected her energy to that name so powerfully with her emotional body, so strongly, that she connected also to St. Francis of Assisi also. And as a result of that, she started levitating. He used to levitate. So whyever she needed to do that, for whatever reason, she ended up levitating, and that gave her greater faith. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, she'd be floating above her bed. Imagine how crazy that is. And stuff we've seen in TV shows, and we're like, oh, that's wild. What a great imagination. But I think it comes from somewhere. It must. Because there are people that actually levitate. David Blaine notwithstanding. But she told me that she did a meditation and then asked God, and God told her directly. Her higher guidance, her higher self told her, look, you have connected with the energy of the sun. And I guess she was resonating at the vibration of the sun. And she had rejected somehow subconsciously the energy of the earth. And she was moving up like, I don't know what, rays of energy? I don't know what. But she was connecting with the energy of the sun. And she said anyone can levitate. All you have to do is connect with the energy of the sun. And you resonate with the energy of the sun. And then you'll start levitating. Well, I thought that was weird. Now that I'm reading this to you guys, what I just read, it seems to me we might just got something here. As Ricky Ricardo used to say. I think you might got something there. I mean, really, this is something. This is something. So let's continue to read this. Now it was number 10. Now we're on number 11. Consciousness and energy. Before our explanation can proceed any further, it is essential to define the mechanism by which the human mind exercises the function known as consciousness, and to describe the way in which that consciousness operates to deduce meaning from the stimuli which it receives. To do this, we will first consider the fundamental character of the material world in which we have our physical existence in order to accurately perceive the raw stuff with which our consciousness must work. The first point which needs to be made is that the two terms, matter and energy, tend to be misleading if taken to indicate two distinctly different states of, it's like super tiny, distinctly different states of existence in the physical world that we know it. Indeed, if the term matter is taken to mean solid substance as opposed to energy, which is understood to mean a force of some sort, then the use of the former is entirely misleading. Science now knows that both the electrons, which spin in the energy field located around the nucleus of the atom, and the nucleus itself, are made up of nothing more than oscillating energy grids. Solid matter, in the strict construction of the term, simply does not exist. Well, that's absolutely true. Rather, atomic structure is composed of oscillating energy grids surrounded by other oscillating energy grids, which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. In his book Stalking the Wild Pendulum, Ishtok Bentov gives the following figures. The energy grid which opposes the nucleus of the atom vibrates at approximately 10 to the 22nd power hertz, which means 10 followed by 22 zeros. He actually explains that. So that's the energy grid which composes the nucleus of the atom. The energy grid itself, that's how fast it vibrates. 10 to the 22nd hertz frequency. At 70 degrees Fahrenheit, an atom oscillates at the rate of 10 to the 15th power hertz, which of course is 10 with 15 zeros after it. An entire molecule composed of a number of atoms bound together in a single energy field vibrates at a range of 10 to the 9th hertz. A live human cell vibrates at approximately 10 to the 3rd power hertz. Wow. The point is to be made that the entire human being, brain, consciousness, and all, is like the universe which surrounds him. Nothing more or less than an extraordinarily complex system of energy fields. The so-called states of matter are actually variances in the state of energy, and human consciousness is a function in the interaction of energy in two opposite states. Motion versus rest. In a manner described in the following paragraph. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that. That's information that we already had, but maybe we didn't have the absolute specifics. We know that we're all energy. Everything is energy. There is nothing more than just energy. There's even a Mind Valley Academy commercial that keeps getting played for me every time I go on YouTube. Is the lady saying that exact thing. Everything around us is energy. There is nothing else. We are energy. There is nothing else. That's why we say we're in an energetic matrix. All right, so I'm checking real fast just to see where we're at. I accidentally hit my gallery. All right, good. 17 minutes in, so it looks like we got several more we can read, which is good. All right. So here's the next one. Number 12, holograms. Energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a three-dimensional mode that creates a living pattern called a hologram. The concept of the hologram can be most easily understood by using an example cited by Bentov, in which he asks the reader to visualize a bowl full of water into which 3 pebbles are dropped. As the ripples created by the simultaneous entry of the three pebbles radiate outward towards the rim of the bowl, Bentoff further asks the reader to visualize that the surface of the water is suddenly flash frozen so that the ripple pattern is preserved instantly. The ice is removed, leaving the three pebbles still laying at the bottom of the bowl. Then the ice is exposed to a powerful, coherent source of light, such as a laser. The result will be a three-dimensional model or representation of the position of the three pebbles suspended in midair. Holograms are capable of encoding so much detail that, for example, it is possible to take a holographic projection of a glass of swamp water and view it under magnification to see small organisms not visible to the naked eye when the glass of water itself is examined. The whole concept of holography, despite its scientific implications, has only been known to the physicists since the underlying mathematical principles were worked out by Denis Gabor in 1947. He later won a Nobel Prize for his work. And now it looks like there's a couple words missing, maybe a whole sentence, I don't know. So Denis Gabor in 1947, laboratory demonstration of, there's a missing sentence. So anyway, laboratory demonstration of Gabor's work only occurred years later following the invention of the laser. As biologist Lyall Watson explains, quote, "The purest kind of light available to us is that produced by a laser, which sends out a beam in which all the waves are of one frequency, like those made by an ideal pebble in a perfect pond. When two laser beams touch, they produce an interference pattern of light and dark ripples that can be recorded on a photographic plate. And if one of the beams, instead of coming directly from the laser, is reflected first off an object, such as a human face, the resulting pattern will be very complex indeed, but it can still be recorded. The record will be a hologram of the face." That's interesting. All right, so now we go to the next thing. Number 13, the part encodes the whole. Of further importance is the fact that even if we dropped our frozen hologram of the ripple pattern on the floor and broke it into a number of pieces, each individual piece would recreate the entire holographic image all by itself. The smaller the piece, the fuzzier and more distorted would be the resulting holographic projection, but the fact remains that a whole projection would nonetheless be made. The key to creating any hologram is that energy in motion must interact with energy in a state of rest or non-motion. In the foregoing example, the pebbles represent energy in motion, while the water before its agitation by the pebbles represents energy at a state of rest. To activate or, in effect, to perceive, quote unquote, the meaning of a holograph, energy, in this case a coherent light source, such as a laser beam, must be passed through the interference pattern generated by interaction between the moving energy and the energy at rest. In this simple example given by Bentoff, This requirement was fulfilled by holding the frozen interference pattern in front of the coherent light to project the three-dimensional holographic image, or its meaning, quote-unquote, into space. As Marilyn Ferguson, editor of the Brain Mind Bulletin, oh, we love her, tells us, quote, she says, another feature of the hologram is its efficiency. Billions of bits of information can be stored in a tiny space. The pattern of the holographic or photograph is stored everywhere on the plate, unquote. Did you guys know this about holograms? I for sure did not. But, as above, so below. If you think that your entire body can be recreated from genetic code in any one of the cells in your body, you kind of see, I guess that's what we are, holograms, right? Because any little tiny piece of us can recreate the whole of us. All right, well, we are in a holographic universe. And we're in the Matrix, and there we go. Oh, well, that just leads us to the next section. Number 14, the consciousness matrix. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Karl Pribram, that's a very hard name to say, Pribram, 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 sounds made up, I don't know. The theories of Karl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, B-O-H-M, I have heard of him, a physicist at the University of London. The human mind is also a hologram, which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. With respect to states of expanded or altered consciousness, such as Gateway uses, the process operates in the following way. As energy passes through various aspects of the universal hologram and is perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind, electrostatic fields. We gotta think about that one for a minute. Electro meaning electric. Of course, we know that. Static means stationary. Fields, okay. So the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind. They're not saying brain, they're saying mind. The holographic images being conveyed are projected upon those electrostatic fields of the mind and perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that can harmonize with and therefore read the energy carrier wave pattern passing through it. Changes in the frequency and amplitude of the electrostatic field which comprises the human mind determines the configuration and hence the character of the holographic energy matrix which the mind projects to intercept meaning directly from the holographic transmissions of the universe. Then, to make sense of what the holographic image is quote-unquote saying to it, the mind proceeds to compare the image just received with itself. Specifically, it does this by comparing the image received with that part of its own hologram which constitutes memory. By registering differences in geometric form and in energy frequency, the consciousness perceives, and it says now in quotes, see Exhibit 2, next page, As psychologist Keith Floyd puts it, contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. Oh, I mean, I just need to take a beat. The brain does not create consciousness, but consciousness creates the appearance of the brain. I mean, this is deep metaphysics, man. All right, we're going to go to number 15, which starts to talk more about the brain. So here we go. Take a sip of your tea and hold on to your hats. All right, which are, by the way, a hologram. Okay, number 15. Brain in phase. That's PHASE, brain in phase. The consciousness process is most easily envisaged if we picture the holographic input with a three-dimensional grid system superimposed over it, such that all of the energy patterns contained within can be described in terms of three-dimensional geometry using mathematics to reduce the data to two-dimensional form. Bentov states that scientists suspect that the human mind operates on a simple binary go or no-go system, as do all digital computers. Therefore, once it superimposes a three-dimensional matrix over holographic information, it wishes to interpret and reduces that information mathematically to two-dimensional form, it can completely process it using its fundamental binary system, just as any computer made by the hand of man can process volumes of data and system I just lost my place. So it can, just like a computer made by the hand of man can process volumes of data and make various comparisons between the data and the information stored in its digital memory. Our minds operate in the same way, perceiving by comparison only. Bentov states the proposition this way: our whole reality is constructed by constantly making such comparisons. Whenever we perceive something, we always perceive differences only. I hope that clears up a lot for you. It clears up a lot for me. In states of expanded consciousness, the right hemisphere of the human brain, in its holistic, nonlinear, nonverbal mode of functioning, acts as a primary matrix or the receptor for this holographic input, while by operating in phase or coherence with the right brain, the left hemisphere provides the secondary matrix through its binary computer-like method of functioning to screen further the data by comparison and reduce it into a discrete two-dimensional form. Because remember now, the right brain, that's what creates language and art and beauty and appreciates music. But it's the logical center, the left side, L for logic, left side of the brain, that is in charge of mathematical forms. So you kind of need both in order to create music, not just appreciate it. You need to know the mathematical function of music. Mozart understood that, and you can see the magic of math in Mozart's music. Oh my God. Alliteration much, Elena? Here we go again. All right. Okay. Number 16, evaluation. To the extent the gateway succeeds in bringing about a refinement in energy matrix of the mind, It succeeds in expanding or altering human consciousness so that it can perceive without recourse to the intercession of the physical senses, such that ever more of the universal hologram, not of course accessible by sense perception, can ultimately be perceived and understood. Marilyn Ferguson has written that the theories of Pre-Brahm and Boehm appear to account for all transcendental experience, paranormal events, and even normal perceptual oddities. She goes on to say of Pre-Brahm, currently he is proposing a startling, all-encompassing model that is generating considerable excitement among those intrigued by the mysteries of human consciousness. His holographic model marries brain research to theoretical physics. It accounts for normal perception and simultaneously takes the paranormal and transcendental experiences out of the supernatural by explaining them as a part of nature. Like certain strange discoveries of quantum physics, the radical reorientation of this theory suddenly makes sense of paradoxical sayings of mystics throughout the ages. Right. Like certain strange discoveries of quantum physics, the radical reorientation of this theory suddenly makes sense of paradoxical sayings of mystics throughout the ages. Yes. Indeed. And as I read that, guys, I had a memory of having made this episode yesterday. So I just now had a perception that I actually did the show yesterday on a different timeline. And somehow my timeline's just emerged and I have a memory of already doing this episode. Speaking of mental oddities, or what did he just say? Cognitive oddities. Anyway, wow. All right, so number 17, self-cognition. To complete our outline of the process by which the mind achieves and exercises consciousness, we must also describe the mechanism which accounts for the aspect of human thought that differentiates it from the consciousness of plants or animals. For example, self-cognition. Humans not only know, but they know that they know. They are able to monitor the process of their own thinking and maintain an awareness of it. Moreover, they can conduct a comparative, and all of a sudden it's just gone. Hold on. It went to a page where it had some illustrations. I'm going to explain that in a minute. All right, so let me go back 2 pages. So, moreover, they can conduct a comparative assessment, evaluating the functioning of their thought processes against various objective standards that they have adopted. Human consciousness can do this because it has the capacity to duplicate aspects of its own hologram, project them out, perceive that projection, put it through comparison with the memory aspect where its evaluation standards of measure are stored of its own hologram, and measure or sense the differences using 3-dimensional geometry and then binary go or no go pulse to yield verbal cognition about the self. All right, so and I'm going to go back to this middle page here. It says that the left hemisphere consciousness grid acts like the mind's computer software to reduce input from right hemisphere to verbal symbols and concepts. And the left is logic, but also language, I guess, is what he's saying. But I remember the right brain being language. I mean, I memorized this on a different timeline. When I went to high school, and my art teacher was an impeccable art teacher. She taught us about our brain, taught us a bunch of different things. And I remember her saying left is logic and, math, but the right brain has language, which doesn't at first make sense because we're using language, I guess, as a way of expressing ourselves, and the right half of our brain was to express ourselves, and that's what I definitely remember. So it's weird that this here says left language. All right. And then it says right hemisphere consciousness grid reduces and it's like cut off. This page is cut off. Reduces 3-dimensional holographic image to 2-dimensional go or no go. And then it says for something. The page itself is cut off. And then this next page, it's like it was probably not really copied with a copier. I don't know. Mimeographed, it looks like. It's like super old. But yeah, it's like copied, but it was like the page was turned. It wasn't like lined up perfectly. So hopefully, yeah, it looks like it's okay though. The next page is straight. It's like slightly askew. It's so strange, man. It's like they were copying this in a hurry. All right, let me see where we're at. It looks like this is going to be the last part. We're at 39 minutes here. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to go over there and see where we're at. Yeah, 40 minutes. So this might be the very last one. Time, space. Oh my goodness. Okay, time, space, dimension. Number 18. Up to this point, our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow. Now the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of those aspects of the universal hologram which can be accessed in the dimension of time-space as we know it. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought to transcend the limitations of time-space is the next task which must be addressed. To do this, we must first appreciate what time and space are in order to understand how the dimension that they constitute can be transcended. Physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force in motion. In other words, it is a measurement of change. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it must first be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of vibratory pattern so that its confinement gives it the capacity for being contained at a specific location, which is distinguishable from other locations, which is space. Energy which is not confined is force without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form. It is infinity, cannot move, because there is nothing beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond space because that concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from other locations. But if energy is in, if energy is in a state of infinity, there are no boundaries, no here to differentiate from there, no sense of area. Energy in infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is conscious force, the fundamental primal power of existence without form, a state of infinite being. Energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest and therefore cannot generate holograms so long as it remains utterly inactive. It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy and motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. Energy in this state of inactive infinity is termed by physicists as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute. Between the absolute as energy in its absolute state, or simply, I'm sorry, I just screwed that one up. It's like hard because it's like I have to go back and forth on the page. Like I have to literally scroll the screen and hold it really close so you guys can hear me. It's like, and then also this page was photocopied askew, so I keep losing the line. Darn it! All right, so between the absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various intervening dimensions to which human consciousness is in altered states of being may gain access. So theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, at which point perception stops because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. All right, that was deep. I hope you guys got that. I'm going to see where we're at on the next one if we have enough time. I don't know. I think what we're going to do is this gets so deep, man. We're going to go over 19 intervening dimensions next month, because then that goes into subatomic particles. So we're going to start with part 19 next month, because we're already at 46 minutes. All right, well, there you have it. That's giving you quite a bit to think about, right? The holographic universe and etc. Absolutely crazy stuff. I don't know about you guys, but this just excites all the atoms in my body. I think I'm vibrating at a higher rate of speed now. I think I'm happier thinking about this stuff. It's just, this is my ADHD mind is just going to be working on this in my sleep. I might not even sleep for a while thinking about this. Anyway, well, that's it. That's all she wrote for tonight's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll come back next month with the next part of the Gateway Experience, the CIA papers. And we'll just keep going as long as I can find exciting and new CIA documents to relay to you guys in relationship to metaphysics or spirituality or human consciousness, paranormal, etc., supernatural stuff, etc. Even aliens or ETs, if I can find something, I'll read that to you as well. I used to have a really awesome book, but I lost it, unfortunately. I don't know if you heard that, but somebody is calling for attention. Hey, baby kitty. She had her vaccinations today, thank you, God, and she's actually doing okay. She wasn't all freaked out and ran under the couch like I expected her to. She actually sat on the couch and she was calm when she got home. Good girl, man. I'm grateful this really intelligent cat came into my world. And it is a miracle by the grace of God that I am not allergic to her. Occasionally allergic to the dust she collects on her fur, but anyway, I'm just really grateful for it. All right, I'm going to end the show right now, and then I'm going to record today's actual show. Today's Wednesday. Two shows in one day. Oh my God. All right, I'm already tired from this show, but we'll see. Hopefully, I'm going to channel someone, I don't know who, for the Wednesday show. And I'm going to quickly hop on over to YouTube and see if we have any kind of outcome. Now, last I looked, Biden was ahead, and he had about 6 more electoral votes to win to make him the winner in the race to 270 electoral votes. And last night when I looked, the popular vote was being won by Donald Trump. That's weird. That's like the opposite of what happened last time. He lost the popular vote and he gained the electoral college. So I guess that's what they say is karma, folks. It's a weird kind of karma, but it's very interesting. It's like a mirrored reflection of the last election. Anyway, I'm gonna go check it out. I think a few things have changed, so I'll report it in the beginning of next show. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for listening to the show, for your continued faith and confidence in myself and my abilities. And I wanted to say thank you for liking, forwarding, favoriting, subscribing, and telling everybody you know about the show, especially all the people you know that are in the midst of having their own spiritual awakening. Hopefully, my show will be mental water for their thirsty minds and for yours as well. Anyway, I do love each and every one of you, and I will be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. But for now, I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the Holy Fifth Dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.